is a good time, and it's information that I think would really help you and anybody else that might watch this or need it. So I have been reading up on imposter syndrome for a while now. And I first heard about it a few years ago in my therapy with my therapist. And it was something that I didn't completely understand. And I knew it was linked to depression and anxiety and shame and all these things, but it didn't really make sense to me. So I kept reading about it, kept watching videos about it, and ta-da! It took this whole 2020 for me to finally kind of come into a shocked realization of what imposter syndrome is to me. Maybe this will help you. I hope it does, because I will tell you, nothing on the internet has ever helped with this. It just explains it and presents a very clinical way of viewing it rather than an experiential way. So that's what I hope to offer you today. There is no like, I don't have anything written down for this. So I'm just going to go with whatever comes up, because that's basically how this works for me, and my ability to express it comes and goes. So I'm going to see what I can do today. So imposter syndrome is this idea that you aren't who you are. That it's kind of like I saw it as you're putting a mask on, you're putting on a facade, and you're this poser, and it's very inauthentic, and it's not really who you are. And I think it's combined with this self that you can't acknowledge or accept that that's who you are. Like, you are perhaps very successful in your job, but you can't connect with that because it doesn't feel authentic to you, or doesn't feel real, or something to that extent. And so how that works out, in my understanding, is actually I have been playing a role of a person that I'm not, rather than owning that role or feeling identified by it. It was rather a protective measure, perhaps, and an attempt to put up a front, so that way the world around me was held at a distance, and I didn't have to think about, I guess, being real, or being myself, or being honest. That's a lot of it, being honest. And I think that saying that is, I think that's the point. Like, that's the point that I arrived at, is that it was me putting on this outside, because I didn't know who I was part of it. I was the person who other people wanted me to be. That was a big part of it, huge part of it. And I think that women in particular find that about themselves, that they're being the person that other people, the world, wants them to be. And then when they sit with themselves, and I sat with myself, I discovered that I was very, very unhappy, depression, a lot of anxiety, just cycle, very quickly, very fast, all the time. And after 13 years of being in that, I can finally say that's no longer my struggle. I still deal with that person that I express to the world, and then the person that I am in my own privacy. But the person that I am out to the world is a betrayal of who I am now. That's what I've arrived at. And when I finally accepted that these were two completely, like, almost inauthentic, these things don't work together. Like, I can't be the person on the outside and be the person that I am, who I am. They're two separate things. I eventually have come into this realization that I don't want to be that person anymore. But who am I if I am not this? If I am not the outside and I'm not the inside, like, these two things, where do they meet? And I can't tell you how to resolve that, because it took me ripping off the layers of an onion to get to the core of the middle, to then come back out to the outside of the onion again, to say, I have layers. I'm a very complex individual and a human being, as we all are. And I am not just one thing or another. And that was a massive, major part of this, was to acknowledge that I am not just this or that. So if I am not just this or that, what am I? And so that was the question that I went on to self-discovery for these past 13 years. And I did it out of a desperation and a need to not be tormented in my own head all the time and in my own heart all the time. And that is the most significant effort that I could have ever made to resolve that for myself, that anxiety and that depression. I still have anxiety, I still have depression, but it's significantly reduced and improved because now I understand my depression is circumstantial. It is about a situation, about a circumstance, about something. I mean, 2020 is all one big depression and anxiety. So what are we going to do about that? But I don't battle with who I am as much. And I still have episodes, and I will tell you straight up, it is like, you know, people who do self-harm, this is the crust of that. Because when you can't deal with that dichotomy, you can't deal with yourself, because you can't acknowledge yourself enough to say, this is not who I am. And so that's where self-harm comes from. And I'll tell you, I have prevented myself from ever going to that extreme because I knew I was worth more than that. But the self-harm is the sudden flash of a sense of, I didn't do this right. Somebody didn't receive that right or well, or they didn't hear me right or whatever. That means that the outside world is not acknowledging the person that I am. And so I have to work daily through that. Every moment, every exchange, every interaction is an effort towards that. And it's hard all the time, but I'll tell you, it gets better. It really does get better. And it was worth the painful effort of self-discovery, because I didn't think it was worth it for years and years and years and years. But I knew in my heart, because the divine and all that is existence, the great creation, was telling me that I wasn't here for arbitrary reasons, and none of us are. We're all very, very important people, individuals, and we're a part of a whole beautiful thing. But we're not living to our fullest potential because we can't be ourselves. And so that's what imposter syndrome is to me. It is 100% worth the effort of self-discovery to uncover your authentic self, because that is you. And then learning the process of who that self is to the world around them. Because we're not in a vacuum. We're not by ourselves in this bubble. And the way that we live in the world is through human interaction and through group exchange and through human exchange. And so I'm learning by continually to show up with people and being more authentic and being more real about who I am, that there are people who genuinely accept me for who I am. They get that I have ebb and flows. They get that I have episodes of incredible anger and frustration and disappointment. But those people say, I see you, I acknowledge you for who you are, and I give you the space to be yourself. And that's really what we all need. We need people who can look at us as who we truly are and say, I accept you for who you are. And not worry about the people who don't. Just dismiss those people, let them go, let them fly away. It's fine. We don't care about those people. That's fine. We'll just let them be. Because we're busy being ourselves and being real and being true to ourselves. And so that actually came out a lot easier and a lot more to the point than I was expecting. So I'm little happiness, little joys. So much love to you. I hope this finds you well. And if you have any questions, please let me know. You are worth the effort that you make every single day to yourself. And we all need you here. I need you here. Much love. Big heart. Mwah.